Now for the lecture. So while I was preparing to do this video, thinking about what I would tell myself if I was wanting to start anew, what information would I give myself? So I have 5 learnings of what preparedness is and what it's about. So my first bit of advice around preparedness is don't get stuck on the boogeyman, right? It is great to talk about and fun to talk about and think about things like EMPs and biological warfare and all that sort of stuff. But in reality, most of your emergencies are going to be at home preparedness items, or you need to leave your home and go somewhere nearby for a short period of time, such as a bushfire or something is threatening your home. And what you want to do is go to your friend's house or your family's house or a hotel even, and you want to make sure that you're not starting from fresh. So taking this kit and carrying it with you means that if you go and stay at a family member's house, they don't have to go and get shop for food for you for a couple of days. You've got at least some supplies. If it's something like your water gets backed up in Melbourne and the septic goes into the drinking water, that's bad. You'd have a way to drink water. That is the most important thing. Most of us are water. Ways to have snacks. If there's another spike in toilet paper shortages, you've got something available. Knowing where things are means you can got communications and help around. Ways to pad out the meals and cook things if you need to. If you were able to and grab this bucket and an emergency blanket, you could go anywhere basically. So not making sure that you don't get focused on the boogeyman. A lot of your events will be at home. And you'll have things like proper pots and probably electricity, but you might not be able to go to the shops for 3 weeks because you're in quarantine. Who knows what's going on. So the second part I had was, I need to look at my notes. So the second recommendation I would have for a younger version of me is that in the modern age, bunkers don't work. In the world of drones, whenever you leave your bunker to do something like trade or interact with other people for some method or reason, you can't stay in a bunker forever. All castles fall. So you're going to need to have a plan for that, and investing the money to build a bunker might not actually make the sense. Personally, I have drones in my EMP boxes, so why would I not expect my enemy to do it too? So if I had a secret underground lair, which I unfortunately don't, I would know that I would need to leave that place at some point to do something, because you can't, even if you've got 5 years worth of food and supplies under there, after 5 years you will need to leave. Alright, so you will need to leave at some point. And the other part is that again, all castles fall, and people are willing to deny their enemy the facility. So if you are in a bunker and someone does discover it, that is your enemy, they may already be well and truly resourced and not want to acquire your equipment and items. They would just rather not have someone that lives in a bunker inside their perimeter. So what they would do is they would burn you out. Happened heaps of times through history. So the other thing I've got on my list is that it's not new. Things like canning have been around for a long time. Farmers have been, doing seasonal crops, and then they would take them all and they would store them for years at a time based on their seasonal needs. So learning how to do those things, buying the equipment to do those things is probably a good place to start. It gives you skills and things for the next part, which is community equals security. Doesn't matter how many firearms someone has, if you got to sleep sometime And if you're permanently on guard duty, you are not tending to your fields. So as a society, we have learnt that not everybody can be guards, but not everybody needs to be a farmer, right? So when you're as a single family a family unit trying to operate in an emergency, super emergency, end of the world type stuff, you're going to need to build up a community. And the people that are doing things like I'm never coming home bags, so inch bags, and bug out bags where they go, yep, I'm going to go live in the woods and be a hunter-gatherer, I think that's not particularly feasible, because they're going to end up having to interact with a community and things. And not having prepared for a community means that you might not get in. You know? And a single person or a group of people that with I'm never coming home bags that are together still need to do things like farm and grow feed, and hunter and gathering isn't all it's cracked up to be. So the community does have a lot of extra benefits as well, right? So as a preparer, I'm going to support my community where I am. So in the event of long-term power outages, I know that a lot of people in my street have caravans and boats and stuff that they can stay on. So I've made facilities so that they can bring their caravans up to my house, and I will run extension cords so that they can have a little bit of personal privacy. But knowing what's in your community and what people can do can give you options. You'll want to be able to trade your knowledge and your skills. You don't want to just be the person that has 50 firearms when there's only 2 people that know how to shoot in an area. It's not going to help. Growing food takes time, and things like this tub are going to be great to get you out of a week-long emergency, but it takes several months to get a greenhouse going. So you need to be prepared for that and know that if an event is fast and sharp, you might not be able to get other supplies, and you've got to have a plan and have thought a bit about that. And people get desperate when they get hungry. We're only like 4 missed meals from disaster. So having a community around you lets you have both security, has people divvy up resources. You can have 2 or 3 night watch people, watching your fields and the rest of your facility to see if people are incurring. And my final point was that the current price does not equal the manual effort. So we are living in good times, and as an example, you can buy a loaf of bread for under $1. But it takes way more than $1's worth of effort to make a loaf of bread if it's not done through industrial processes. So doing things around what can I prepare for now that's cheap and easy and will save a lot of human manual hours in the future. Spam is a great example, right? So $5 a can to feed a couple of people in a day is amazing. Spam a can back 200 years and you'd probably still be able to eat it today, but if you sent it back a few hundred years, they would be marveled at what it is, right? So there's lots of things that we can do today, like a bag of rice as a pure example is another example, where you can buy a 20 kilo bag of rice for $25 or something similar. And then what you do is you can prepare it and store it away. And there's a couple of videos about long-term 20 plus year storage of rice. But it takes way more effort for you if you were going to have that cup of rice a day to grow a rice field and go out there and harvest it and get it all ready and then store it and prepare it. We're doing things like taking a bag of chips full of argon and things like that so that it doesn't go bad because the oxygen doesn't interact. So there's a lot of things now that we rely on the industrial process to be affordable. And that's a bit of a mistake, I think, because any industrial process can be attacked and can have failures. We have just left the war in Afghanistan And for the first time in 20 years, those terrorists are going to be popping their heads up. And who knows what they will strike. They want revenge. So infrastructure weaknesses are definitely going to get hit at some point, right? And even if they don't get hit by terrorism or something similar, they're going to fail and power plants explode and things like that. So what happens? What's your plan for if all of a sudden the diesel refinery goes up, and or a ship gets blocked in a canal and blocks it for weeks? If that was a terrorist or a planned incident, they would still be trying to get that ship out, and everything would still be blocked. You know, billions of dollars worth of shipping containers expired, you know, while waiting to get through those canals. The whole world works like that now. And it's not that difficult to imagine that if that can happen by accident, what can happen by malice? So that's the end of the little rants about things I would recommend to myself going forward. Again, had a few negative things there, right? But having your mind open and remembering that none of this stuff could happen, right? You got to remember to be a bit positive. Don't go into debt for preparedness. That's probably the worst thing that you can do. So, but if you're going to do something like, this is insurance, right? This is buying a week's long worth of insurance for my family, so that if we needed to, we could grab this bucket and go somewhere else. If a neighbour was having issues, could give it to them. You know, I'm thinking about making up a few of these to drop off at key locations on my get home route, just because it is so far to walk. So that was one of the reasons why I've started developing this box. So the other part was, you don't need to get an emergency tub like this. You could just get a normal box, right? It doesn't have to be freeze-dried. This is a bit expensive for what it is. You could do a very similar thing to get 2 people's or 3 people's worth of food in canned food and pastas and stuff like that. So when you go shopping, just go and collect an extra couple of things each time you go shopping. Won't hurt that much. Put it in a box. And just every week, every fortnight, every time you get paid, put some little bit extra in the box. I've been doing that this last couple of weeks as well, because obviously wanted to build up some of my supplies again. So I've put, as a pure example, bought another pan, right? So a skillet, which is in the box. So if I needed to leave home in a hurry, I could grab that box, which has got food and it's got honey and it's got a bunch of other things in it, but it's also got a frying pan, and I could use these little pots and things to boil water and cook food. Anyway, I think I'm rambling on now, so I'll get this repacked up and put away, but this is the start of a kit. But if anything, get yourself a proper water purifier. Grail water purifiers are probably the best and cheapest I've seen, and with the most flexibility. But apart from that, everything else you've probably got lying around your house, you can start things for cheap and work on. Thanks for watching.